I am very proud to now call the 27th International Convention to order.
I wish to acknowledge the ancestral traditional territories of the Ojibwe and the Anishinaabe, and in particular, the Mississauga of the New Credits, whose territory I gather on today. I also recognize the contribution of Métis, Inuits, and Indigenous peoples have made both in shaping and in strengthening this community. Now more than ever, it is important that we recognize the land we occupy, pay homage to those who came before us and cared for the land we call home today.
These are strange and uncertain times. Violence and brutality are directed against Black workers and their communities. Latinx and other immigrant workers are forced to stay in the shadows. Asian Pacific Islander workers are attacked with racism and xenophobia that starts in the White House. Indigenous and Native workers are exploited on land stolen from their ancestors. LGBTQ workers are discriminated against. Women are paid less and harassed. Workers with disabilities are treated without dignity. We are all holding so much grief and sorrow, but also hope. We have hope that comes from being a part of something bigger than ourselves, being a part of a union, our movement. We have hope that we can make change. We can build power and win justice because we've done it before. Until Black workers can thrive, none of us can thrive.
To date, 157,000 people in the U.S. alone have fallen ill and died preventable deaths due to COVID-19. And more than 1,500 acts of violence have been committed against Asian sisters and brothers. Communities of color and immigrant workers are denied access to health care and are less likely to be able to shelter in place because they can't afford to do so. Together, we are driving a reckoning with the fact that as essential workers, we may be essential, but we are not sacrificial. It's time to have a voice at the table and create good union jobs everywhere in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico. It's time to have an economy and a democracy that works for everyone.
Now is the time for every single essential worker, everyone who keeps us clean, safe, and fed during this crisis, to have a seat at the table with corporations and government, to win the personal protective equipment and the hazard pay, the sick days, the health care coverage, and $15 an hour that everybody deserves. Now is the time for unions for all.
Resolution 101, Build Power, Win Justice, calls for a reckoning of centuries of racism and generations of corporate greed and decades of anti-union attacks. We will drive an anti-racist agenda and actions coming together across race to challenge corporate power and demand government action to win racial justice so that every family can thrive. We will win unions for all, uniting millions of workers across employer and geographies to build power. We will fight for everyone's right to vote freely, safely, and without impediment, to win in November and lay the foundation for a true multiracial democracy that includes a path to citizenship for millions of undocumented workers. And we will empower every member leader and ensure that every member is connected to build a more powerful, leader-rich SEIU.
Resolution 204A honors the contributions of Asian and Pacific Islander workers and condemns racism and xenophobia directed at them. It is the responsibility of our union and all working people to denounce any form of racism and xenophobia, and to uplift the contributions of API workers in our communities.
As API workers on the front line, not only are we fighting to have enough PPE to protect ourselves and consumers from the virus, we also are facing an increase in racism and xenophobia during this COVID pandemic. I rise in support of Resolution 204A on condemning API racism and xenophobia during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond.
Members report that they and their children and families experience ridicule and misplaced blame for the virus at the grocery store, at school. This treatment is unacceptable. I urge you to support the core resolution and Resolution 204A. Please vote yes.
Voting is a form of protest and the only way to make sure that our voices count. This is what we do as a union. That is why I support and believe we should all support this Build Power, Win Justice resolution.
I work side by side with people who are not in the union, who are afraid to call in sick or afraid of speaking up when they feel unsafe in the situation. Being in a union forces management and people in power to respect you and treat you as a human being. I feel proud to know that I am part of a union and know my voice matters.
Unions ensure that workers like myself are in safe working conditions, fair pay, and that we all have a voice at the workplace, regardless of immigration status.
Our union fully supports the Black Lives Matter movement. We are fully in support of the Black Lives Matter. At the same time, we are including our experience of our Latinx workers, our immigrant workers, and we are shedding light on all of this, that they are being impacted, our families are being impacted. This report is an opportunity for us, for our full commitment as a union to win for all workers.
The vote total appears on your screen. The yeses have it. The resolution committee report is adopted. We will build power. We will win justice. Because when we organize together, when we fight together, when we hope together, we win.